Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World, episode 126. I'm your host, Jon Jordan, and I'm very pleased joining me today. We have Daiki Moriyama, who's director at Oasys, and Ryo Matsubara, who's a representative director at Oasys. Oasys being the Oasys gaming blockchain from Japan. So very pleased you could join me today, guys.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey guys, thanks for having us.
Good. So we're going to be talking all things blockchain gaming and Japan today. Just a note that we're doing this as an audio podcast at the moment because the guys are actually being very Japanese and they're in a karaoke bar. I don't think they're going to break into song, but apparently that's the place you go to get co-working space at the moment in Japan post COVID. So the internet's not very good there. So but I'm sure that's fine. We're going to have a good conversation. So I guess the first thing is, I've said a few things. Obviously Oasys is a gaming blockchain because that's why you're on the podcast, and it's coming out of Japan. So could we get your view of there's lots of blockchains out there, thousands probably, and there's a whole bunch of ones that have a lot of games on already. So what's the thing that Oasys is doing that you think is different to sort of the other solutions out there?
Okay. So Oasys is the combination of the layer one blockchain and the layer two blockchain actually. So we have double layer. So the solution comes out from our experience as a blockchain game publisher, as a gaming studio. So our origin, and our brother company has published the first blockchain game 4 years ago, but we faced the issues that regarding transaction speed and the high gas fee, especially after the DeFi summer. So then we explored the next, chain, but we couldn't satisfy all of them, because full gamer. I think the gas we don't need to. The gamer don't want to think about the gas fee, and they don't want to wait the a few minutes transaction. It should be instant, at least, yeah. So we wanted to that involvement, and as we were working with the Japanese IP holder, intellectual property holder, so we need the IP protection involvement. So using the layer two, so each gaming company can have their own involvement, like the naming their names the layer two. So it can protect their IP too. Yes. So that's the difference between other chains. Briefly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of it is interesting, I suppose, that there was what you're talking about there, and you were working, I think I'm right, at Tokyo Double Jump, which was the company who did My Crypto Heroes, that sort of which was, as you say, was one of the big blockchain games at the time on Ethereum. And it's sort of interesting that you went through those sort of struggles and came up with your own solution. It's actually a very similar trajectory to Dapper, the Canadian company who did CryptoKitties, who sort of had a very similar experience. They sort of ended up building Flow as their own sort of blockchain for doing entertainment and games, because they felt they had experience and they needed to sort of build from scratch, from the ground up, their own sort of solution, rather than relying on a more sort of generalized blockchain, which is obviously what something like Ethereum or Polygon is. So it's interesting that from different sort of different countries and different directions, you've sort of come up with the same thing.
Yep.
So in terms of, it's just quite early stages, I guess, for Oasys at the moment. Obviously, your mainnet's live, your token's live. You've been announcing games. How do you feel that's going? You sort of feel like you're sort of gaining adoption and people are interested in what you're doing and looking to build on it?
Yes. So we managed to launch the mainnet token last year, even though the market condition is awful because of the FTX shock. But we sincerely managed to launch the token. The price became higher than the public sale price. The price is going well. But we haven't launched any major title yet, and haven't released any launched our any kinds of hit title yet. So yeah, our mission is kind of help launching the hit title in the game in blockchain gaming space this year, and we are very confident that the successful model will be invented this year, because all type of the gaming studio is about to launch the blockchain game. So all type, I mean, is the gaming giants, well-known gaming giants, also and a mobile gaming studio and Web3 gaming startups. So all three, type of the gaming studio is about to launch their gaming blockchain game with some experiment. So lots tons of experiment, the successful model invented, I believe. So we need to help. We need to incubate the successful model of the blockchain game this year. That's what I'm gonna do. So and then we will really push about the Web3 and the gaming in the future.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it is one of the striking things that when Oasys was sort of announced, sort of a little bit sort of came out of nowhere. I don't think maybe in Japan lots of people were expecting it, but I don't think I wasn't, at least. And some of the sort of companies that you sort of did that initial announcement with, and some of the companies who are validating the blockchain in terms of the infrastructure are sort of worth just highlighting. So you've got some very famous Japanese companies. So it's got Square Enix and Sega.
Yep.
And Bandai Namco, and got Gumi. Also, there was three of the sort of largest Japanese blockchain games companies. Out of Korea, you've got Come to Us and Netmarble. You've got YGG, the Guild, got Mythical Games out of the US, the Blankos people. So it's kind of interesting that you've sort of built this very solid sort of support at the sort of the blockchain sort of infrastructure level from some of these sort of companies. And I guess I don't know, probably you can't say too much about this, but those companies are not part of Oasys because they're not going to launch projects. I mean, clearly those are all looking seriously at how they can use Oasys, and obviously people like Square Enix have sort of announced sort of some of their first more experimental projects. So how many games do you expect to be out on Oasys by the end of the year? Can you say
how
that?
many games? Even how many? How much was that by the end of the year? So
more than 10. By the end of last year, or
at the end of this year, right?
end of this year.
Yeah.
So it already depends, but
Yeah.
we are, working on. Yeah, our target is around 100, because the game itself is entertainment. It's very hard to predict which games will success. So will succeed. It's like a film. It's like a Hollywood, right? It's really hard to predict. So there's a successful rate. So we need to have the, how can I say? We also need to pursue the amount of the gaming title. Yeah, maybe that'll be around 100 this year. Yes, we already have migrate the 10 gaming title and by end of last year, but we need more 90.
Okay. Well, yeah. And it's interesting. Look at the sort of ones that have been announced. And actually, let's go back, because you sort of did it in your introduction. You sort of said, this is sort of in terms of the how the Oasys blockchain is sort of organized at a high level. It's it's sort of like a layer one that all the games sort of share, and then it has its own scaling solution. So what we call like a layer two scaling solution. And you've interestingly you sort of organized that using the term verses. So you sort of have at least as it's sort of currently set up, is you have things like the chain-verse and the home-verse and the TCG verse and the MCH for My Crypto Heroes verse, and those are interesting because those are the scaling solutions, but those are sort of being run by sort of individual companies, and so they have it's almost like a sort of a publishing collection So can you talk a little bit about sort of why you wanted to structure it that way? Because I don't think any other blockchain at least sort of highlights like an L2 solution as being sort of a way of curating sort of content of creating games. So obviously in the TCG verse, there's going to be trading card games because that's what you expect to find there. So why did you think that was sort of a way of sort of structuring that?
Yes. Okay. So as I explained, at the beginning, so we adapted the double layer. So as the to realize zero gas fee and instant transaction, we need the layer two, single node layer two. It's almost like how can I say?
Private chain.
It's a private chain, like it's like a EVM like EVM database. It's like that. So the speed is instant, and there's no gas fee because it's a single node. Because the incentive for in the node operation is not required. So there's no gas fee in layer two. Then, but the data will be loaded up to layer one. So the security isn't in layer one, but we can realize the instant transaction and also the zero gas fee. So that's the reason we adapted the double layer structure. So we also believe the future of the multiverse future. So, for example, some company has lots of famous IP. This is just example. So, for example, Bandai Namco, they have tons of IP, and also, so for example, the Gundam. Do you know Gundam? It's a famous robot. So Gundam has a lot of series of Gundam. So Gundam should have a Gundam verse. Also, Dragon Ball should have a Dragon Ball verse because the world is different. So the future should be multiverse. Then also the interoperability is also important, but each verse should have each, how can I say, infrastructure and involvement. But then we also believes that content creation should be centralized. So especially for the IP holder, wants to control the IP, but data should be in decentralized place. So this combination of the layer one, layer two technology realize that. So data itself is secured in layer one, but IP holder wants to control their IP in layer two. So so it's a combination of the decentralization and centralization. Yeah. So that's the reason why we adapted this structure.
Yeah, it's getting the best of both worlds, isn't it? It's sort of understanding where you want the blockchain and where you don't, where you just want a good user experience. But I think the really interesting bit is, as you said there, sort of you could imagine some of these big, these big sort of publishers having their own verses, or these bigger games having their own their own sort of curation, their own sort of place where the fans of that series go, and they know that's where sort of their content's going to be. So I mean, how many verses do you think you end up with? Do you end up with, obviously I guess it's technically it's unlimited. You can have as many as you wanted, but equally at some point when if there's 100 verses, does that get confusing for gamers? Do you think? Obviously at the moment I think you only have about 5, so it's not early stages.
Now currently we're just having 5, but we are aiming to having the 100 verse.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And in terms of, you haven't got any sort of games live at the moment, but you are sort of just going through the process of your first NFT mint. So it's a PFP Series 1, and you got Yu Suzuki, who's really famous from Shenmue and a Virtual Fighter, and Godtail, the artist, doing that, and some other people involved. So can you talk a little bit about how, about that sort of, that NFT drop and what that means as sort of the first sort of assets that are going live on Oasys?
Okay. Oasys is a special project. As a narrative, it's the first NFT which is minted on layer one block, Oasys layer one, and we wanted to make the NFTs for gamers. because there is a huge gap between traditional gamer and Web3 world.
Yeah.
So we are assuming that traditional gamer and the gaming industry uh, feels like feels like they were outsider of the crypto industry. So something they don't know is happening outside of our gaming industry. Their
Mm.
feelings. We suppose though. Then so we wanted to make the NFTs for gamer. So that's the reason why we have involved the tradition, legendary game creator, Yu Suzuki. Also, we will continuously, involve the legendary game creator for future collaboration of Oasys too. So that's the first, first priority. The purpose of the Oasys, and this is a message. So we will be more friendly with the gamer. And secondly, so that the Oasis will have the special function. So that will be like the Oasis Pass. So if you spend more OAS or our token in Oasis ecosystem, the some parameter, or you can get some points. So the your status in Oasis ecosystem will be upgraded. So upgraded means you might gonna have a early access to specific games or some kind of special rewards. So this is not published yet though. Yeah, this will be like a pass, say,
Okay.
of the in Oasis ecosystem. So yeah, and also we also have another features. So that will be really really experimental project. So maybe we're gonna have some really challenging NFTs like collaboration with AI or XR, X reality, like that. So that's the first use case. For game so the gaming companies who want to, which will be used as a experimental project. Yeah,
Mm.
that's the Oasis.
Okay, cool. That's good. No, it looks super interesting. And I just kind of you're talking very much about you're sort of really focused on the gamers in Japan, and I wonder obviously in sort of 20 we had Axie Infinity, it was sort of I guess a sort of global hit, but more generally gaming is very central to sort of Japanese culture in a way maybe it isn't even
Hmm.
now in other places in the world. So have you found that sort of Japanese gamers are interested in crypto stuff and Web3? Because I guess in the North America and Western Europe, we've sort of had this sort of backlash from particularly from sort of hardcore gamers who like a certain, particularly sort of PC console gamers who sort of for various reasons don't like it. Have you seen something similar in Japan, or do you feel there's a bit more sort of just interest from gamers and they're just kind of if Yu
Okay.
Suzuki's doing something, we're interested.
Yeah, compared to North America and Europe,
Yeah.
Japanese gaming industry has completely opposite. You
Oh,
know,
really?
uh,
That's good.
yeah, yeah. So they're very much positive about the Web three because think about their position. So
Mm,
before online games, Japanese gaming company had almost 100% shares in the gaming industries. But
yeah.
but they lost their position. Maybe their shares currently the 30%, like that.
Okay.
Then so in and also for mobile gaming companies, uh, yeah, agree DNA the huge challenge for in the mobile gaming
Mm,
industry. They did, but that was the era of the feature phone. Then after
yeah.
mobile, after iPhone, came out, so Apple and Google ruled
Mm,
the industries. So so they want to find another frontier. Then that's the first reason. Then second reason is currently development, the development budget of the new title it's getting huge.
Mm.
Or so for even for a mobile game, at least 20 million will be required. 20 million US dollar will be required for one title.
Mm.
But mobile gaming industry is kind of it's currently red oceans. Then successful rate is often said it's like a 3%. Then 3% for 20 million US dollar is a risky business right now. So they would like to go into blue oceans
Mm.
because they have ability to create good games. Yeah, that's the main
Mm.
reason, and also they have good IPs. Maybe yeah, we have these strengths. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Web3. Yeah.
And I guess a lot of the sort of game types that are most popular in Japan, which is obviously sort of RPG, those sort of games sort of fit well into blockchain because you have sort of collecting characters, leveling up characters, lots of materials, lots of gear, sort of crafting, collecting, trading. That you sort of have those features already, as part of those genres, and it's that's exactly what it's very
Right.
easy to
Yeah.
see in
Absolutely.
blockchain that you have those sort of things. So hopefully it sort of fits very well.
Yeah.
More generally, what's the attitude uh, in Japan, sort of at a government level to crypto? I've been hearing some things that actually the Japanese government sort of had some announcements around sort of standards for NFTs or thinking around how you dealt with NFTs. So I know previously Japan had been it sort of had been harder to run crypto companies in Japan. There was sort of more legislation. So do you think that's changing now? Is that sort of part of a sort of
Yes,
a
it's
wider sort of
changing.
change? Yeah.
Actually, it's completely changed, and it is also completely opposite from North America. So
Oh,
because of the FTX incident, maybe U.S. government is trying to regulate more
mm,
strictly. Um, but Japan, we had this similar incident 4 years ago. Then, so Japanese government made this really strict regulation. As a result, FTX Japan was saved because they had the segregated custody. Yeah, the customer of FTX Japan is safe.
mm,
So, so it's well regulated. Then, now government is trying to push Web3. Is yeah. Then they're trying to push the Web3 as a kind of part of the national strategy. And because before Web 1, Japan was so strong for manufacturing. Sony, Honda, Toyota. So, yeah, they were like a king and economically. But, after the internet came, there's no winner in Japan. So
yeah.
government would like to, incubate the new industry for Japanese company. So that's the main reason. They're pushing Web3 right now.
Mm, mm. That's good to hear. No, it's sort of funny as you say the having sort of worse regulations 4 years ago means you're in a better situation now than having laxer regulations. It's sort of funny how the sort of timing timing flips around. So it's good to hear. Um, and I guess we've spoken a lot about Japan. Obviously, the Oasys blockchain has sort of come from Japanese companies and very much supported by them. But I wonder how do you feel? Would it be a success if it had successful games, but mainly it was Japanese players playing it? I mean, how do you blockchains by their definition is sort of global? So how I can see that the games on Oasis are really going to appeal to Japanese audiences. How are you going to at some point build that out to appeal sort of within Asia and more widely? Because that's I think that's probably the what you sort of want with games. You want games to be global, but that's sort of quite hard to
I
do.
think,
What's your strategy there?
right, that'll be global ultimately.
Yeah, yeah,
But currently, U.S. market and European market is dead because of the
mm,
FTX incident. They might gonna focus on Asia. in short
Yeah.
terms, but in middle terms, I mean, yeah, they absolutely wants to go global
Mm.
because in Web two era they knew, so they did too much focus on the feature phone. So that's the reason why the Japanese Web two gaming company couldn't go to global market. But blockchain is the global from day one. Yeah, they are aiming the global markets this time. That's we believe.
Mm.
I believe so. That will be global. But currently, Japanese market is somehow hot. Maybe they might gonna utilize their home country's market. So because Japan still have third largest GDP in the world, maybe they're gonna utilize the home market first. But so maybe that won't be really domestic. So they would like to go to the global market too.
Mm. Good, good. And can you tell us? We've sort of spoken about the next thing. I guess that's happening is the NFTs going to be minting. Is there anything else you can tell us? What else are we looking out for in the near future that's going to be happening on Oasys? Any pointers you can give
Of
us?
we of course not in the NFTs, not the gaming title comes up. Of course, be a
No,
gaming chain.
yeah. When
Uh,
is there a rough date for when the first games are going live?
yeah, but so we can't control the releasing date because we are not publisher. But
Okay,
uh, you know, by the first half we are
okay.
expecting, but we can't control.
Mm.
Yeah, we
Decentralized.
know the yeah, this is right. Yeah, we know the exact targeting date from them. We heard it,
Mm.
but we can't control.
Okay.
But I can say this year. that,
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad we got some rough some rough guidelines around that. Obviously, uh, the place to be is follow you guys. You got the usual thing. You got Twitter, Discord, websites up. You can see they've got an Explorer. You can see blockchain's live, so you can see what's going on the blockchain. So for people who are interested in Oasis blockchain, there's plenty of things to be looking at. Thank you very much to Daiki and Rio. Thanks for your time.
thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.
We'll have to come back at some point this year when your game's are live, and we can sort of get a taste of how you've moved from a really promising project with lots of backing to actually having games live, and we can start to see the adoption. And I think it has been very interesting in this how you have sort of several times said how the attitudes, the mentality in Japan are now so different from from what they are in North America and sort of Europe, and that was so different a year ago. Sort of funny how these sort of cycles change, and be good to keep an eye on that. So thanks guys, and thanks to you for watching and listening to the podcast. Every episode, we're talking to people who are building out this sort of a brave new world of gaming using blockchains, and it's extremely innovative. At least I think so, and I think we haven't really seen the start of what some of these games are going to look like and how they're going to build these massive communities. So please subscribe through your podcast platform of choice, and come back next time to see what's going on. See you.